Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into the fiery tensions in the Middle East, where Israel has launched multiple airstrikes deep into Tehran, targeting key government sites and threatening to escalate even further. Iran responded with missile and drone attacks, and the region is on edge, with global powers calling for calm and diplomacy. Stay tuned as we unpack this volatile situation. Next up, President Trump is urging oil producers worldwide to increase output to stabilize prices, warning Iran not to close the Strait of Hormuz, a critical shipping lane for global oil supplies. With Iran considering blocking the strait, the risk of a major disruption to energy markets is real. The world watches nervously as tensions rise, and the stakes for global stability grow higher. Finally, in Europe, a remarkable shift is underway. Almost 64% of Germans now support creating an independent European nuclear deterrent, signaling a move toward strategic autonomy. This comes amidst rising security concerns and debates over NATO and US reliance. Germany's political landscape is also evolving, with discussions about military service and security measures reflecting a new era of European independence. Please continue to watch for more details. According to the Toronto Star, the recent escalation of violence in the Middle East has seen Israel intensify its military operations against Iran, striking key targets in Tehran including the notorious Evin prison and Iran's underground nuclear enrichment site at Fordo. These strikes are part of a broader campaign that Israel warns will continue over the coming days, amid fears of a widening regional conflict. Iran has responded with missile and drone attacks against Israel, while also warning the United States that it now has a free hand to target American interests following U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. The situation has led to diplomatic tensions, with Qatar closing its airspace temporarily and the EU urging Iran not to block the Strait of Hormuz, a critical energy corridor. Meanwhile, Iran's internal situation is strained as shortages and rationing become widespread, and Iranian authorities claim control over the damaged Evin prison after the Israeli attack. The Associated Press reports that the U.S. has launched a major offensive targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure, including the Fordo site, which has sustained very significant damage according to the UN nuclear watchdog. President Trump has claimed that the strikes inflicted monumental damage, asserting that Iran's nuclear capabilities have been severely impacted. In response, Iran has threatened retaliation, with Iranian military leaders warning that they have been given a free hand to act against U.S. interests. The attack has also prompted international concern over the stability of global oil supplies, as President Trump called for increased oil production to counter potential disruptions from Iran threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz. The situation remains volatile, with diplomatic efforts ongoing, and many countries urging de-escalation and negotiations to prevent a wider regional war. The Globe and Mail highlights that global leaders, including Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, have engaged in discussions aimed at de-escalating tensions. Carney recently spoke with President Trump, emphasizing the importance of returning to diplomatic negotiations and calling for calm amidst the crisis. Meanwhile, France and Germany have expressed opposition to regime change through force, emphasizing the dangers of military intervention in Iran. The international community remains divided, with some nations like North Korea condemning the U.S. strikes as a violation of Iran's sovereignty, while Russia reaffirmed its support for Iran and condemned what it called unprovoked aggression. As the conflict escalates, concerns about the potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz and its impact on global oil markets persist, alongside warnings from countries like Japan and the UK about the risks of regional instability and the importance of diplomatic solutions. Deutsche Welle vividly captures the fragile state of India-US relations, highlighting how President Donald Trump's bold claims of brokering a ceasefire between India and Pakistan have sparked diplomatic tensions. Despite Modi's clear rejection of US mediation, asserting that the ceasefire resulted solely from Indian and Pakistani military talks, Trump's assertions have cast doubt on the reliability of American diplomacy in India's eyes. The situation is further complicated by the ongoing trade negotiations, with India wary of America's unpredictable approach and public diplomacy challenges, especially after recent U.S. engagements with Pakistan's military leadership. This complex dynamic underscores a relationship strained by transactional diplomacy, where mutual trust is eroding amid regional security concerns and domestic political pressures, threatening to undermine long-standing strategic partnerships. Foreign policy offers a stark critique of President Trump's military escalation against Iran, emphasizing how his strikes on nuclear sites and the subsequent rhetoric have severely damaged America's diplomatic credibility. While some supporters view the actions as tactical wins, the article vividly describes how these aggressive moves have escalated regional tensions, endangered U.S. troops, and driven Iran further underground in its nuclear pursuits. Trump's unilateral approach, including tearing up the Iran nuclear deal and threatening regime change, has hampered future diplomacy, leaving the U.S. trapped in cycles of escalation with Iran and Israel. Despite his willingness to meet adversaries like Kim Jong-un and Taliban leaders, his impulsive military actions, such as the assassination of Soleimani, have ultimately undermined opportunities for meaningful negotiations, casting a shadow over America's ability to lead constructive international dialogue. The Toronto Star paints a gripping picture of the widening conflict between Israel and Iran, illustrating Israel's expansion of its war effort to target symbolic and strategic sites across Tehran. Israeli strikes have targeted a notorious prison and military facilities, with the country explicitly stating it does not seek regime change but aims to pressure Iran through symbolic actions. Meanwhile, Iran's retaliatory attacks on Israeli cities and the recent Israeli assault on Iran's nuclear infrastructure have intensified fears of a broader regional war. The involvement of global powers complicates this volatile landscape, with President Trump's provocative remarks on regime change fueling Tehran's anger and fears of escalation. As Iran warns of retaliation and the US and Russia call for de-escalation, the region teeters on the brink of a conflict that could spiral out of control, with civilians bearing the brunt of the violence and international diplomacy struggling to contain the flames of war. Deutsche Welle reports that a significant majority of Germans, approximately 64%, are now in favor of establishing an independent European nuclear deterrent, a shift reflecting growing unease with reliance on the United States for security. This sentiment crosses demographic and political lines, with support notably high among Green Party voters and CDU-CSU supporters. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz had already expressed interest in negotiating with France and the UK to develop a joint nuclear strategy, aiming to bolster Europe's defense capabilities amid global uncertainties, including the unpredictable nature of US policies under Trump-era influences. The poll underscores a rare consensus in German foreign policy, emphasizing a desire for greater European autonomy in nuclear security, especially after recent escalations in the Israel-Iran conflict, which have heightened concerns about regional stability and security threats. Meanwhile, other headlines from Germany highlight a nation contemplating military readiness and security adjustments. Bavaria's Premier Markus Söder advocates for the reinstatement of mandatory military service, citing the increasing threats to European security from Russia and the necessity of a robust defense force. Germany is also tightening security measures following U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, with officials warning that the threat to U.S. bases in Germany has intensified. The government is actively monitoring the situation and coordinating with allies like Britain and France to ensure protection. Additionally, a survey reveals that many German employees are working from home more frequently than permitted, often through unofficial arrangements, reflecting changing attitudes toward workplace flexibility. Customs officials recently confiscated a large quantity of fireworks illegally imported from Poland, and Germany urges Iran to engage directly with the US in diplomatic talks, emphasizing Europe's continuing role in mediating regional conflicts. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.